Coming up in today's show, Elky shows us how to use fire to clean your barbecue with high heat. Neal creates a tasty lunchtime snack that didn't entirely go to plan. Our special guest is Nathan King from KungFuBBQ. In Dish of the Week, Elky cooks 2 delicious Cull Yaw joints, and we go on a journey around the barbecue community to take a look at what you've been cooking. Welcome to the Lockdown BBQ Show. Welcome to the 18th Lockdown BBQ Show, and we hope you've had a really good week. Now, Elky, the weather seems to have turned very autumnal all of a sudden.
It does, yeah. It seems that summer is over, although I think we had our summer in May, and it's just kind of been a bit iffy since then, hasn't it? But I do like it when it starts getting towards the colder months. There's just something magical about cooking over fire on a cold winter's night.
Oh, I totally agree. Now it's time for Elky's How-To.
In this week's How-To, I'll show you how we use fire, and lots of it, to clean those grills. So a question that I get come up quite a lot is I've got a mouldy old barbecue, there's mould growing in it, it's not been used for a while. How do I clean it? And the easiest way is with fire. I mean, fire will get rid of most things, most nasty things that you've got growing in that barbecue, but also from time to time you might want to do a little bit of maintenance on your grills, give them a bit of a spring clean. I'm guilty of not doing that as much as I should, so I'm going to show you just how we use fire to clean your grill, clean the inside of your grill, clean your grates. Let's crack on. I'm going to show you how we use high heat and fire to clean your grill. I'm going to do it on my Kamado Joe Classic 3. I've not cleaned this since I've had it. So we're going to clean the deflectors, the grill grates, and with a bit of luck, we're going to get a lot of this carbon off that builds up around the inside. And the same principle will apply to your kettle barbecue or whatever, just extreme high heat. So I'm going to take these grates out, I'm going to get some charcoal in there, get a fire on the go and show you how we do it. So you may have noticed there's already some charcoal in there from a previous cook. I am going to use that, I'm just going to shake the ashes off, use that, and also any odds and sods that you might have left, bags that are open, they've got a few bits and pieces in the bottom of them left over, chuck them in as well. You know, don't go using your brand new charcoal, don't open a new bag. If you've got bits and pieces laying around, which I have, I mean, I've got a box of bits and pieces as well, I'm just going to chuck that in here for our fire. So we've got a nice full fire box. I've just chucked 4 firelights in, we want to get the fire going nice and quickly. If you're doing this in a kettle grill, just fill the charcoal grate with charcoal, get some lit charcoals on top, open up the vents all the way and just get it as hot as you can. But for this, we've got 4 firelighters in, we're going to bring it up to temperature with the bottom vent fully open, and we're going to have the top vent fully open. So the first thing we're going to do is go in with our grill grates, and then we're going to take our accessory rack and just pop that on the upper level. Now these are relatively clean, I haven't used them too much because I normally use a slow roller or a cook direct, but you can get a lot of grime on these, so all you would do with these is just pop them in the upper position there. You can see there that one's a bit grimier, so we're going to stick that again in place there, and then it's just a simple case of closing that lid, making sure this bottom vent is all the way open, making sure this top vent is all the way open like that, and then we're just going to watch this climb and climb and climb. So we are at 850 Fahrenheit, 450 Celsius. Safe to say it's pretty damn hot in there. So, quick word of advice, do not now pop this latch and lift the dome open straight away, because you will likely burn your face off. What you want to do is just pop this, open it ever so slightly, about an inch, let some air in, and then open it, because otherwise, backdraft, burnt face, ouchie. Come on then, let's let you have a little peek inside, show you what I mean by burping the Kamado. So we're just going to pop that latch, like so, let some air in there, that's been burped, and then you can open it up. And you can already see how clean those heat deflectors look. I mean, they were fairly clean anyway, but they're a lot cleaner now. That's some high heat in there. So that's what it looks like. Nothing exciting, but you've seen how to burp it now, so no excuses. Okay, so it's cooled down completely. It's the next morning now. Let's take a look inside. See here, these are looking nice and clean. Heat deflectors, you just take a brush and just brush off anything that remains. Quick flip, and you can see on the other side, that was filthy on the other side, and there you go. Now it's coming up almost as good as new. Now the grates, they've gone kind of grey colour. What we're going to do with these is just take a wire brush, give them a quick brush. We'll do it with this actually. On there, just a quick brush. Once you've cleaned off any of the ash or residue, I normally like to just give it a quick thin coat of oil. So grab a paper towel with some oil on and just rub it around there, just to get it back in the game. Same with the grates. Just give them a quick brush. You can use a wire brush, but these are clean now. You can see the residue coming off from where we had that high heat, but these are clean. Again, I'm going to give these a nice thin coat of oil because I like to do that with my grates anyway. It protects them and it gets them ready for the next use. So this had a lot of kind of greasy residue and carbon building up. It would take a brush and look at that. That's just going to come away now with a brush. All that black, filthy soot, carbon, whatever it is that's built up there is just coming away with a brush. So you can see any grease that was on there, any greasy food, any manky food. Obviously, if you've got any barbecues that have been sat there for a few months and you've got a bit of mould in there, or you've left a bit of food on the grates and it's all gone a bit manky, just burn it, just fire, lots of heat. You can see, you know, nothing's surviving that. You saw how hot it was in there, but it's the same in the kettle barbecue. Just chuck loads of charcoal in there, get it as hot as you can. It's going to burn any crud away, any mould away, and then just give it all a brush, give it all a wipe down, give it a coat with oil, and you're back in the game. So that was my how-to on how to use fire to clean your grill. Hope you found it useful. I'll see you next week.
Elky, I didn't realise that barbecues burped.
Neither did I until I owned a Kamado Joe, but I think it's a technical term. You have to burp it because otherwise you're just going to get a load of flame, take your eyebrows off. It's not going to be pretty. Now, it's a great way to clean your grills, especially if you're a seasonal barbecuer and you're going to put your barbecue away for the winter. Give it a clean like this and it'll save you coming back to any nasty surprises when you get it out next year. Or you could just barbecue all year round like our next guest, Nathan, KungFuBBQ.
Nathan, welcome to the Lockdown BBQ Show. How are you coping in these strange times?
Hello, Neil. Hello, Elky. Thanks for having me. All good, thank you. I think it was all really strange to start with. You kind of forget when you could only leave the house once a day and the supermarkets had nothing in that you could buy. It's been a while since then, but no, it's all been good. I think grateful, really, we're all still healthy. Grateful we're still to be working. I think a lot of people have not been as fortunate, have they? So no, I've been cooking. I'm definitely heavier, that's for sure.
Are you cooking more than normal?
I think I have been. I think I'm finding I'm spending like most of my working day and a bit longer in front of the computer, and it's just nice just to get out after the working day and just get out in the fresh air, just cook a bit more. And I think because you can't go anywhere really, I mean the restaurants are back open, but I've not really been anywhere, so just trying to cook a bit more, get outside, have some nice food.
Nathan, you've since I kind of got into barbecuing and the world of Instagram and whatever, you were always somebody that was there with great photos, great food. I'm sure I asked you loads of questions in the early days as well. But you've always been a bit of a source of inspiration for me. So when did it all start for Nathan and KungFuBBQ?
Thanks, mate. No, I appreciate that. It's been, I'm trying to think back. I think we went to Grill Stock. It was around, I think, 2012 or 2013. And it was before we had kids. We were just looking at fun stuff to do over that year. And I saw this thing, it said Grill Stock Festival. I think it was Meat Music Mayhem. I thought that sounds like a good weekend. We went down, it was in Bristol, and it was typical sort of Bristol weather through that time of the year, and we kept getting quite a lot of rain. And Weber were there with a big marquee, and they were showing people what you could cook on all the Weber gear. And every time it rained, we went in the marquee and watched one of the demos. And at that point, I'd done like most other people. You'd sort of burnt your sausages and killed your burgers and stuff. And I was seeing all this stuff they were cooking. I just couldn't believe it. I was absolutely blown away. And I decided even before we left Grill Stock that when I got back, I was buying a Weber kettle and a Weber Smoky Mountain. And it all kind of started from there, I think. So,
Nathan, I remember you said that you started the blog KungFuBBQ as a way to kind of keep notes on all your cooks and stuff. But I think we'll all agree that it's gone a bit past that now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was interesting. I started off, and it was really only for my own personal use, really. I didn't think anyone would be interested in reading it. And it was when I bought the Uni 2S, I was struggling a little bit to get into a routine of keeping the pellets topped up, keeping the fire level, and cooking good pizzas sort of consecutively and getting them all sort of to the same standard. So I started writing my notes around the sort of ingredients I'd used, the method for making the pizza dough, and then the methods I'd used for topping up the pizzas, the pellets and everything else. And I just kept writing it in the blog. And I've always been interested in photography, sort of taking a lot of photos when I've been on holiday. And I thought I'll integrate the two hobbies. And it just kind of grew from there. And I think I always write up, not just with the uni cooks, but the barbecue ones as well, what went well, but also what didn't go quite so well, because we all have disasters. And I think people appreciated the honesty of, look, this was an absolute disaster and these are the mistakes I've made. Don't do this instead. So it's been quite interesting.
There's definitely not as many disasters as there is fantastic cooks. But I remember last year or the year before, I remember you seeing that you had like a million page views in a certain time period. I can't remember what the time period was, but it shows how massively popular your blog, was and is.
It was unbelievable, because I've not really looked at the stats, and someone had asked me, I think it was like a collaboration, they wanted numbers, and I'd looked at the stats, and I can't remember what the exact number was. I think it was a million over a certain point, was it? Or it was so many 100,000 a month or something. I was just blown away. I couldn't believe it. And the blog at that time, I think the other year I did sort of 200 cooks in a year, and I was writing up each one. So it was like every night I was doing the cook, then I was writing it up, and it was getting a bit too much. So I've tried to consolidate it into sort of one post a week. It just covers all the cooks now. So it's been a bit more manageable.
Nathan, we can see behind you have a lot of cookbooks. How big is the collection?
Well, I daren't say, Neil, my wife will watch this. I think she counted them one time. Must be a couple of hundred now, I reckon.
Just before you came on, I had a little wager with Neil about, I'm going to ask you what your top 3 cookbooks are. And I reckon I've got 2 of them. I reckon I can guess 2 of them. But tell us your top 3.
Oh, wow. Top 3's hard. I'm going to upset people. Definitely Berber and Q. You'd have guessed that one.
There's
I think
one.
That's my favourite. Wingman's would be particularly interesting. The Wings and Things one. That's been really good. And then, crikey, without trying to upset people, could I choose from Hangfire, DJ Barbecue, Rich Harris and Ben Titch?
They're all great selections. So, yeah, we'll let you have them. We'll let you have the 5. Nathan, how do you manage so many cooks in a week, yet still finding time to put them out onto social media and also writing them up for your blog?
It is really difficult, mate. My kids are already young, so they're in bed quite early. So my evenings, sort of rather than watching telly, I find myself sitting on the computer, which is strange because I complain about spending all day in front of a computer and then spend like most evenings back on the computer writing stuff up and getting ready for the next week's cooks, planning what I'm going to cook, writing the ingredients list out and everything. Most
of them aren't exactly what you call a quick midweek meal, either, are they? I can tell that a lot of planning, and there's a lot that goes into each of the dishes that you cook. So yeah, it just amazes me that you managed to find the time to do all that during the week and still write about it. It is quite hard. Some of them, yourself, like they've got multiple sort of steps and processes in. So I have to try and write in the notes, remember to prep this on this day and prep this on the other day. And you might be cooking something on the Friday, but you're starting the prep on the Wednesday. So I have to try and get quite organised. It doesn't always work, but I'm a bit more relaxed about it these days. It doesn't matter if things sort of move on a day, or just do the best you can.
Nathan, you've cooked from so many cookbooks. When can we expect to see your first cookbook?
It's a good question. I would really like to do that. A few people have asked me. I need to probably do some more of my own recipes and cook less from other people's books. So I'll try and make up some more of my own recipes, I think, going forward, and we'll see if anyone approaches me.
Nathan, I'm hoping to build my first barbecue shack over the next couple of months. You've got a terrific shack. What advice would you give me about planning and building it? Oh, it's a good question, Neil. I spent a lot of time, I was trying to work out the best place in the garden to put it, trying to work out where the light would come in. I think putting the kit you've got already in that space and marking where you would put things, the space you've got to work around. I think the best advice, whatever size you end up planning, double it, because it's never big enough. Keep getting more and more kit and it just outgrows it.
Yeah, everybody always wishes that they go bigger on the shack. I mean, mine's pretty big and I'm pretty much outgrowing it as it is. And the missus is on about moving house. And I'm thinking, well, maybe we could do actually, because then I could squeeze in a few more toys. Tell us a bit about your shack. I mean, when did you first get the idea to do that? Is it because of the weather in Scotland?
The weather is quite difficult up here. I mean, I had quite a few cooks. It was through one winter and the weather was really bad. I had sort of all of the different types of weather you could expect. Snow, we had storms, torrential rain, and because I only had a little shelter up by the fence, I was in and out of the house all the time. Everything I wanted was inside when I needed it outside, and I was getting soaked. It was hard to maintain temperature and everything. It was quite disheartening. I thought, I really need a shack. If I'm going to carry on sort of cooking like this, I've got to make it a bit easier. And the garden needed redoing, so I just thought it's the great time to get it done. Strip the whole garden back, get the hut built, happy days. And it has made such a difference. Like, no matter the weather, you can go out there, you're warm, got the music on, got lights, everything you need's out there. The ingredients are in the fridge, all your cooking equipment's to hand as well. It's so much easier.
I find it makes a huge difference, and it does make you up your barbecue game as well, because you know, you've got the shack, you've got the cover, and it just gets you out there more cooking, doesn't it? So, so you've got the blog and you've got the Instagram page. Any plans to get your face out there on YouTube?
We'll see. Have I got a face for radio, Elky? That's the thing. You guys that got YouTube channels, like, maximum respect to you, because it is so much work editing those videos and pulling everything together.
Nathan, which chefs inspire you the most?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's probably similar to the cookbook thing. So when I first got Rich Harris and Ben Tish, when I got their books, it was sort of the next thing. It was like the next iteration after that Grill Stock Festival. There was stuff in those books where I was like, I can't believe you can cook this sort of stuff on a barbecue. And I take a lot of inspiration from them and their books. I think the Burberry and Q book by Josh Katz, that was sort of the next level again. It was this combination of sort of the taste, the flavour, but also the colours of the dishes. Somehow he's managed to get great tasting dishes that also look fantastic on the plate as well. So I think they're probably the three main people I take inspiration from.
I've got the books that you're talking about as well, and yeah, they kind of step up cooking over fire just to a completely different level, don't they? To any of the, I mean, there's a lot of books with American style barbecue and how to do ribs and how to do this, but there's just a complete whole new range of dishes that you wouldn't even imagine doing on a barbecue. So yeah, I'll have to agree with you there. I take inspiration from a lot of those guys as well. So onto your barbecues, onto your kit. You've obviously got a fair bit of it. You're struggling to fit it all in the shack. I see you added a cheeky little gas barbecue to the range the other day, but if you had to pick, what would be your favourite?
That is a difficult one. They're all special for all different reasons. It's really hard to pick one, isn't it? But crikey, I mean, I cook most probably on that the Napoleon kettle these days. God, you've really thrown me, Elky, on that one.
Nathan, what are your favourite dishes to cook?
Favourite dishes? I think my favourite dishes are the ones where I feel a little bit out of my comfort zone. I find some things in books and it's got ingredients in that I've never heard of. So it's quite interesting trying to find those ingredients, trying to source them. But then some of the ones where you're cooking it and it's maybe a different technique or maybe a different cut of meat and you're a little bit out of your comfort zone. I quite like sort of the challenge of that. So the different ingredients and the different techniques.
Nathan, the photographs on your blog are absolutely brilliant. What kit do you use?
Thanks, Neil. The kit I've got, so it's an SLR camera. It's by Sony. It's the A68. So it's just the entry-level SLR camera. And the lens I use the most, it's a 50mm Minolta lens. So it's like nearly 40 years old, I think. I got it off eBay for less than £50. But because it's quite old, it's proper metal and glass rather than plastic. So didn't really spend a lot of money, but the lens is really good and light's half the battle. I think that's why the shack made a big difference. With the artificial light in there, it's consistent. So rather than natural light's really good, but it changes all through the day, so you've got to work with that. But in the shack with the artificial light, everything's consistent.
Have you nailed the art of not eating cold meals?
I try. I absolutely hate cold food. So it's almost like put it on the floor, take the photo, take a couple just in case, and then run and try and eat it while it's still hot. It was harder when the kids were younger. They weren't as fussy with their food. So it was kind of cook it, get a quick photo, run inside, make sure everyone's happy, make sure the kids aren't going mad because it's gone past bedtime. They're a little bit fussier now. They're not keen on a lot of the stuff I've been cooking. So the pressure's off a little bit. I can cook a little bit later. But Yeah, I don't like cold food. I see some of the stuff, some people have amazing photos and it's sort of really laid out really nicely. And I look at it, I think, that's got to be cold. That's got to be cold. You'd have to microwave it after or something.
Nathan, thank you for being a brilliant guest on the Lockdown BBQ Show.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Elky. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Elky, Nathan's blog and his photography is absolutely brilliant. I think he needs his own book.
I think so, yeah. He always creates amazing dishes from other people's books. So, yeah, it's about time he brought out his own book, I think. Now, talking of amazing dishes, let's take a look at what our viewers have been cooking over the last week.
Some great photos there, Elky. Which was your favourite?
This week, I'm going to go with Barbecue Jay. He's cooked a lovely fresh lobster by the sea while on holiday. And I think he's actually done it on a washing machine drum. So, yeah, top marks to that. Now, Neil, let's take a look at what you've been cooking.
Creating the barbecue shack has moved a stage further. To make more space, we took this tree down earlier in the week. While the crew were tidying up, I decided to make a quick snack. Toulouse sausages stuffed with dried apricots and Dijon mustard and wrapped in bacon. The idea sounded good, but it didn't entirely go to plan. To make this recipe, you will need Toulouse sausages, Dijon mustard, dried apricots, streaky bacon and crispy rolls. With a sharp knife, cut a long slit down the length of each sausage about 2/3 of the way through. Spread the cut surfaces with Dijon mustard and place diced ready-to-eat dried apricots inside each sausage. Prepare the barbecue for 2-zone cooking. Now this is where I went wrong. I didn't stretch out the bacon before I wrapped the sausages, so the wrap wasn't as tight as it should have been. Next, I placed the sausages on the grate directly above the hot coals. The smell was amazing, but it wasn't long before they started to unravel. To prevent a disaster, I moved the sausages away from the direct heat and cooked them in the cooler zone for about 12 minutes. We served the sausages with crispy rolls and more Dijon mustard. They didn't look that great and won't win any food photographic awards, but they were pretty tasty and went down really well. A food disaster avoided. Just.
Nearly a disaster there, Elky, but I got it in the end.
You did, mate, yes, and as long as they tasted good, that's all that matters. And every cook is a learning curve. But a little tip from me, use thin, streaky bacon and you'll be fine every time. Now, Dish of the Week this week was a bit of a special one for me. Let's take a look. This week's Dish of the Week is again taken on a slightly different format. We are celebrating this gorgeous Cull Yaw with not one, but 2 joints. We've got this lovely rack, this lovely rump. Going to be cooking them on a Kamado Joe. Let's crack on. So you may have seen a couple of weeks ago that Matt Chatfield told us about this stunning Cull Yaw, and I cooked one of the shoulders and it was absolutely fantastic. Now, I've been lucky enough to be sent 2 more fantastic cuts. We've got the rack here and we've got the rump. I'm told the rump is the absolute cream of the crop. So I'm looking forward to this. It feels an absolute honour, to be honest, to be cooking these beautiful cuts of meat on behalf of the Cornwall project, on behalf of Cull Yaw, on behalf of Philip Warren Butchers. I want to keep it nice and simple. We want the flavour of the Cull Yaw to really shine here. So on the rack, I'm going to go with a simple Mediterranean style baste as it cooks. On the rump, we're going to go with a nice Argentinian, it's called a samwera. So a samwera, in its basic form, water, garlic and salt. You can add a few other aromats and customise it to how you want it. I'm going to put in some fresh oregano, maybe a couple of other little bits and pieces, but I'm going to keep it nice and simple because, like I said, we want this fantastic Cull Yaw flavour to shine through. So that's all about this today, so let's crack on. So first up is this beautiful rack from the loin that's been French trimmed by the butcher, Philip Warren Butchers. You can see this gorgeous colour of the meat and the lovely marbling running through it, but you'll also notice if I turn it around there, how thick this fat is here. Now, as Matt said from the Cornwall project, he takes on these retired sheep, fattens them up, gives them a lovely retirement, and the end result is you've got this lovely bit of fat here, but you've also got this gorgeous marbling. I am going to trim a little bit of this fat off, but the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to melt it down and I'm going to mix it with some oregano, some garlic, some lemon juice and a few other herbs and spices, and that's going to be our baste for the lamb. So we're basically going to be basting this lamb rack in its own fat with some Mediterranean flavours. My mouth's salivating, I can hardly talk. But first thing we're going to do is slice a bit of this fat off, and then I'm just going to score the skin in a diamond pattern, which is just going to help this fat to render down as it's cooking. Now onto the rump. Now, confession time, I've never actually cooked a lamb rump before. So nothing like going in at the deep end with this Cull Yaw, with this beautiful bit of meat here. So I'm going to try my best to do it justice, and I really hope I do, because I mean the smell coming off of this, by the way. This has been, typically these Cull Yaw are hung for 3 weeks, and then they're finished off for another 2 weeks, I believe, in a Himalayan salt chamber, and you've just got that lovely dry aged fat smell coming off of this. It smells incredible, really creamy. But again, I'm not going to do a lot to this because it really doesn't need it. I mean, I'm told the flavour of this is absolutely unreal, and to keep it simple. So this is the one I'm going to be basting with the samwera, which is just salt, garlic, maybe some oregano in there, and water, and we're just going to be brushing it on with my rosemary brush. Again, with this, I am going to score the fat. I just find it helps it render out, render down, and self-baste this meat, as well as us putting the samwera on. That's the rump ready, the rack is ready. Now let's head over to the Kamado Joe and show you how we're set up for this cook. Okay, so we've got the Kamado Joe. We're running at 150 Celsius. We've got our hot zone down here, and we've got our indirect zone here. We're not going to sear this like a steak, like we just sear the hell out of it. This lamb just needs a nice gentle cook, but we are going to start it fat side down. So let's just go in with this rack, fat side down on there like that. This is just going to give us a head start on rendering that fat down. And again, with the rump, fat side down, like so. And we're just going to close the lid on this because we don't want any flare-ups. We're just going to close the lid on this and just leave it for 1 to 2 minutes and just see how we're getting on then. So as you can see there, we've just given it a minute with the lid down. Make sure you have got the lid down, because otherwise you will get flare-ups from that fat dripping onto the fire. But just a minute, and you can see it's giving it a nice, good head start on rendering that fat down. So that's all we're going to do on that side. And now what we're going to do, we've just got the bit of fat that I trimmed in there, just going to melt that down. And then we're going to get these back over that heat there, give them a bit of a sear. Like I said, not too fierce a sear. Just going to give them a bit of colour on the meat side, and then we're going to finish them off up here indirect. Now we're going to pop the lid down and just show you how we're going to make our bastes. So the first one we're going to make is the samwera. So we've got some water, 3 cloves of garlic, just give them a smash, a quick rough chop to the water, that goes. Salt, plenty of. I'm gonna go in with two or three tablespoons of that. Some of this fresh oregano I've picked from the garden. And I'm gonna go in with a couple of peppercorns. So that's that, nice and simple. And we're just gonna use rosemary, just gonna dip that in there and brush it over the meat. So that's that. Next up, we're just gonna make the Mediterranean based. So we've got that Cull Yaw fat that we've rendered down. We're gonna go in with about a tablespoon of oregano, about half a teaspoon of paprika, about half a teaspoon of rosemary. We're gonna go in with a teaspoon of the crushed garlic, and we want the juice of 1 lemon. And that's it. So nice, simple flavours that I think are gonna complement this Cull Yaw really well. So that's that. Let's get these back over to the Kamado Joe where we're gonna start basting. Two absolutely stunning cuts of meat, Cull Yaw, the rump and the rack from the loin. Oh, the smell coming off of these is insane, I'm telling you. These have been cooking for around about an hour, so you've seen what we've done. We've done them fat side down, only slightly with the lid down, just to start that fat rendering down. We've then flipped them over, give them a sear, not too fierce, nice and gentle, and then we've moved them over to the indirect side of the Kamado Joe and let them finish off that way. Occasionally I've flipped these, turned them, turned the fat towards the heat, turned it back away from the heat. Lots of care and attention because I really don't want to screw these up. We've obviously been basting this one with the Mediterranean baste and this one with the Samwera. So they smell incredible. The cook has gone well as far as I'm concerned. It's been really enjoyable. I have been nervous, I'll tell you that. And I'm still nervous until we slice into them and see what we've got. Because, like I said, these are incredible bits of meat with lots of care, love and attention gone into producing this. So these are now going to rest for about 20 minutes. And once they're rested, we're going to slice in and see exactly how we've done. And I can't wait. So like I said, two absolutely stunning pieces of meat. They've been resting for about 20 minutes now. So I think we're going to go in, slice into the rump first. That is cooked perfectly for me. Blushing. Oh, the smell coming off of this is incredible. Let's get a slice and have a go. Let's just take a little slice off of there. So excited. Let's have a slice with a bit of that fat. Look at that. I'm nearly lost for words. That is obscene. That is so tender. The flavour, it's not a massive, strong kind of flavour that you'd expect for something like mutton maybe. It's quite subtle, but it's lingering. It lingers in my mouth. That lovely subtle lamb flavour, the creaminess from the fat, and the tenderness is just unreal. When people, you think old sheep, old lamb, mutton for example, people often dismiss it as something that you'd have to slow cook to get the best results. But this, whatever the Cornwall project and Philip Warren are doing to this, is just insane. I mean, that is as tender as anything. It's just incredible. So bravo, Matt from the Cornwall project. This stuff, I'll take my hat off to you. Absolutely incredible, mate. So that's the rump. Just going to set that to one side and we'll take a look at the rack. But wow, that is seriously impressive. So the rump is a tough act to follow, but I do love the rack of lamb, so I'm really excited about this as well. So again, I'm just going to go straight down the middle, slice it open and see exactly what we're looking at. And again, it's cooked exactly how I want it. It's blushing, it's juicy, it's tender. So let's slice off one of these and have a go. You can see there, that is an incredible piece of lamb. Cull Yaw. I'm not going to be all barbaric, caveman, and just go in with a bite. I'm going to take a slice. Deserves to be treated with a bit of love and respect on it. So let's get a bit of that fat there as well. Just take this bit with the fat, with the meat. Again, this is obscene. I've never tasted lamb like it. Tender, juicy as you like, and again the flavour just kind of sticks around. It's like a creaminess. I don't know what to say. Matt from the Cornwall project is clearly onto something here. But yeah, I'm gonna put it out there. So that's the best lamb I've tasted. It's truly incredible, and I feel honoured to have been able to cook this. I'm honoured that Matt sent this to me and asked me to cook this for the show. He told me the rump was the pinnacle of the Cull Yaw, and he's not wrong there. That's the finest lamb I've tasted. That is absolutely incredible. These are incredible. It's all incredible. The shoulder I did a couple of weeks ago is incredible. So whatever you're doing, Matt, at the Cornwall project, and whatever you're doing at Philip Warren Butchers, just keep doing it, guys, because this is just amazing produce, ethical produce. Yeah, I'll take my hat off to you. So, thanks for watching, guys. I know I got a bit lost for words cooking that, but I'm genuine when I say that is absolutely incredible. That was my dish of the week, or alternative to dish of the week, just showcasing this stunning produce, this Cull Yaw. Yeah, I'm done. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week.
Elky, that Cull Yaw looked absolutely fantastic, and you seem really emotional.
I truly was genuinely lost for words. It was an absolutely incredible piece of meat, and I know I said incredible so many times in that clip, but I can't think of a better word to describe it than incredible.
Must have been incredible then. Now, Elky, would you like to tell us who our special guest next week is?
Yeah, so our special guest next week is another Instagram idol of mine. He's an absolute burger god. It's Fat Sam Eats.
I think that's going to be really good. And that's about it for this week's show. Thank you ever so much for watching. A big thank you to our programme sponsor, Kamado, Joe, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, and again, a huge thanks from me, guys. Keep those fires burning, and we'll see you next week.